Hello and welcome to Ask Me Anything on your favorite channel, PGurus. We're now answering all the questions left over from 105 to 114. Um, First question, please. RM, how to kick out Rohingyas? What steps need to be taken? Literally nothing, RM. You can just kick them out. It's just a question of governmental will. You don't really need court orders or anything because our stance under the Refugee Convention is very clear, which is we have the right to kick them out as and when we see fit. This will obviously be challenged in the Supreme Court. Some people will automatically go to the Supreme Court. If the government takes a strong enough stand, there's very little the Supreme Court can do. Next. Pardu RD. What are your views on Vivek Ramasamy's growing popularity? He's going after the FBI, the education system, drug cartels, and Communist Party. Can he make it to the Republican second spot? Yes, I think he's aiming for the Republican second spot. He's not aiming for number one, he's aiming for number two. And I think it's a very good idea because he's appealing to everybody, the fiscal conservatives and the MAGA type. So it's good. Black Mountain Side, AIM. Considering you're an Eatonian old boy these days, food suggestions for a trip to London. I'm not Etonian, but yeah, sure. I feel Etonian. I identify as Etonian. Yeah. Um, Food suggestions. Okay. Look, avoid the Indian food. There, everybody's going to take you to Indian food. Um, it's not that great. I mean, I think the entire craze of Indian food is this so-called Pakistani balti dishes and the fact that you get a beef out there. Okay, completely overrated. I've never enjoyed Indian food out there. A lot of Indians say, oh, it tastes better than Indian food. No, it really doesn't. So avoid. What I would suggest you try is really good fish and chips. There's lots of places around in London. I prefer the street side ones. Also, a really good beef Wellington or roast beef of Old England. If you eat that, I've given up beef I think at the beginning of this year or sometime. So I won't eat it anymore. But if you eat it, go and try it. It's delicious. They've actually learned how to cook things these days. Um, I don't know if Heston Blumenthal's restaurant is open, but it used to be fairly easy to get bookings out there. Other than that, definitely try some Chinese food while you're in London. I actually really like Chinese food in England. It is not desi Chinese, but it's not Chinese Chinese either. It's very, very good. And, a lot of them will tell you to try Italian food. I'm not a big fan of British Italian food. So, yeah, and I go by my nose. I go to all these markets and things because all my friends want to take me to all these posh places to eat. And I've not enjoyed myself in London. I don't know why. I don't like posh places. I like all these run of the mill street side eateries and especially lots of fish and chips out there. Oysters. I do a lot of oysters while I'm there. That's about it. Next. Shivang Bhardwaj. Aren't there counterexamples to traitor commies like Ho Chi Minh and Stalin? Uh, both of whom fought invaders and imperialists with much grit. Um, Look, Ho Chi Minh was definitely not a traitor ever. Um, Stalin was part of Brest-Litovsk. Don't forget that. Stalin was part of the government that signed Brest-Litovsk. True, he wasn't Trotsky. True, his command responsibility wasn't as great. But yeah, fair point. I mean, the command responsibility mostly lay with Trotsky and Lenin for Brest-Litovsk, for the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. So if you notice, very frequently I'll put up Stalin's photo as my profile picture or whatever. There are counter examples. The problem is they take all the wrong things from Ho Chi Minh and Stalin. They believe Stalin's social policies were very good. They were not. They believe Stalin's concentration camps were very good. They were not. They don't even consider Ho Chi Minh. And I think they're very racist. I think Ho Chi Minh should be considered. Remember, Ho Chi Minh was also not a very nice guy. If you actually go read up about Ho Chi Minh, he had millions of people killed as well. So are there really the kind of examples you want? I'm not too sure. Agnostic. Why did Nehru run to the UN during the Kashmir annexation? Well, nobody really knows. You see, this running to the UN thing, not very smart thing to do. But if you read the UN resolution, it's actually pro-India. If you look at it, it's actually pro-India. See, he ran there in idealism. He didn't do all the homework that was required to go to the UN, much like, in many ways, he was like Justin Trudeau. He never did the homework to see if the UK, Canada, Australia would stand by him before he went public on the allegations against India. And then he discovered, much to his peril, what had happened later on. So Nehru's impetuousness, not doing research, having a very clumsy diplomat there at the time. And in spite of that, if you actually read the resolution, it is sequential. It is also under Chapter 6, not under Chapter 7. A Chapter 7 resolution is enforceable. A Chapter 6 resolution is not enforceable. And it is sequential in that, what does it say? It says Pakistan must first withdraw. India must then go in and occupy the entire territory. And then, under Indian auspices, an referendum is to be held, etc., etc. Now, this is something, if you look at it, if you throw this open to the Pakistanis, they'll refuse to do it. In fact, if you look at our diplomatic position between the 50s and 60s, because we were very poor. So especially after the 60s wars and things like that, we apparently offered to the Pakistanis, they said, no need for referendum. You just give it to us. We know they'll vote for us. So it's actually been offered. I don't know why we don't publicize that more often, but it has been offered and they keep saying no. That our part, there is no need for a referendum. There is only need for a referendum in your part. And that's not what the resolution says. Next. Anush Bangera. As Tulwas, we protect the Tulu language without government support. Do you think Indians depend too much on the government? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Especially for things like this. Linguistic support and things, they depend too much on the government. And I think there is this tendency within India that the government is required when you realize you're losing a cultural battle. So the question is, do you feel like you're losing cultural battle? Tamil, for example, is, I'm half Tamil, requires massive levels of state support in order for it to prevent synthesization and integration with other linguistic things. So, holding on to classical arcane Tamil, for example. Even a sort of pedestrianization of the language is resisted. Let's see. I mean, there's no right answer to this or a wrong answer to this. In many things, so for example, in a lot of the Hindu-Muslim riots, you do situations where communities are under threat, you do actually require government intervention. But it's a good question, Anush. I don't know how you would classify this. I think we need to first identify what social problems are, or what linguistic cultural problems are, what constitutes a trigger after which the government should get involved. I haven't given any thought to it as yet, but we will. Next. Naman Kandapal, with Shuvloy Majumdar winning in Alberta, is it him, or can it be said that conservatives have got their act together? Oh, look, conservatives have gotten their act together, all right. Shuvloy is a very dear friend of mine. He's been the right hand to Stephen Harper for a long time. And Pierre Poilievre really trusts him. He's probably going to be Pierre Poilievre's foreign secretary or something like that. But Pierre Poilievre himself has got things together. Now, the issue isn't have the Tories gotten their act together. The problem becomes, I'm going to use Tory and liberal, okay, just because it's easier instead of using the exact term, the conservatives and liberals. So the problem really is that you have one conservative party, but you have two left-wing parties, which cumulatively still poll more than the conservatives. So even if the liberals lose, the NDP is always there. Jagmeet Singh is always there to handhold Trudeau. So he'll criticize Trudeau, but he'll keep supporting Trudeau. He never threatens to bring down the government. He keeps criticizing the government, but he refuses to bring it down. So it's very, very problematic. Let's see what happens. I think so. Remember, Pierre is not up against one party, he's up against two, he's up against a coalition. So those numbers really have to improve. देखते हैं क्या होता है. Next. Pavan Kishore. Do you think India made good and energetic advancement in space technology compared to defense technology to get on par with other world powers? Why does it still lag behind in defense? Pavan, we've answered this question several times. It's very simple. The space program was always linked to the nuclear program, which was the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Program, which comes directly under the Prime Minister, who did not tolerate program delays and things. The only thing that really got handed over from Prime Minister to Prime Minister, proper institutional handover, was the nuclear and ballistic missile program, because it was so crucial. And there was very significant accountability measures and ruthlessness in following that program. It came directly under the PM. And remember, your ballistic missiles and space programs in every country, they are conjoined. It's the same technologies involved. It is the same ideas involved. So, for example, if one launch is capable of launching putting multiple satellites in space, that is a MIRV capability. Right, that is a multiple independent re-entry vehicle where one missile can carry several nuclear warheads. So they've always been conjoined. So if one succeeds, and you look at the DRDO program that always succeeds, it's ballistic missiles. Why is that? Same thing, direct PMO control and of course nuclear weapons, right? The rest are not under prime ministerial control, so they don't succeed. Next. Yatish Patak, what's your view on the Maarut aircraft? Is there any way our agencies can make of use? Yeah, Maarut is कब का ज़माने का aircraft. Yeah, it's the platform has no growth potential. It's already old, obsolete, and that's it. Next. Siddharth Rao, is Bengali culture as superior as preached? Uh, Look, I mean, to each their own, right? Like, I feel Tamil culture is very superior. I also feel Bengali culture is very superior. But then, I've grown up in it. Obviously, I think it's superior. For a lot of people, Odia culture is superior. For a lot of people, Andhra culture is superior. Karnataka. How do you make that estimation? Like, how do you say one literature is better than the other literature? Like, I don't, for example, like how Marathi sounds to the ear. But you look at Marathi drama today, Marathi plays, the kind of street connect that Marathi drama and plays have, the kind of social messaging they have, they're bloody powerful, man. Why won't Marathi culture then be superior to Bengali culture? Bengali culture had that connect with the people at one point of time. It's a time capsule. It's probably gotten ossified and sort of corrupted a bit now, because the general caliber of the Bengali intellectual is, let's just say, my dog is more intellectual than the average Bengali intellectual today. And same with Tamil culture. It was very, very good. It connected with the people. I don't think it connects with either of them, connect with the people as much as Bong culture, as Marathi culture, say, does with the people today. At one point of time, Karnataka music was all in Kannadiga or Telugu. Uh, Similar. I don't think you can really put this in terms of superior or inferior, and what is the parameter we use? So, for example, the complete cultural domination today is of Punjabi culture, like Bhangra at every wedding, including South Indian and Punjabi weddings. It's all Punju wedding culture. It's all Punju food, really, abroad. Does that mean Punjabi culture becomes superior? No, we look down on it. No, I mean, we're like, "Ooh, Punjabi." So, again, very relative. I mean, open to multiple interpretations. I can spin this any way you want me to spin it. Next. Naman Kandapal, any update on the Rajya Sabha signature forgery case? Eh? What is signature forgery case, Naman? I don't know. Is government able to achieve what it wanted from VP Dhankar ji? Controlling O'Brien. I don't know what the signature. Oh, the Raghav Chadha signature forgery case. No, nothing. I don't think we've heard anything about it. Though the grapevine is that something is going to happen in that case, apparently. We don't know what. I keep hearing a buzz every 3-4 days about it, and it all turns out to be wrong, which is why, if you notice, I haven't tweeted about it. I was tweeting about the Mahua Moitra case because my sources on the Mahua Moitra case are impeccable. Next. Ritu Patil, is India realistically in a position to provide insurance to cargo vessels today? Yes, we are, and we do. Insuring Russian vessels been successful? Yes. And what effect will it have on India's power if things go wrong? Things are not going wrong. Insurance the actuarial sciences are a very precise science. You know how to categorize risk, price that risk, and offer insurance. If, assume, a ship sinks or gets hit or something like that, the payout will be there. The returns on investment are disproportionate. So, I don't see the possibility of anything going wrong unless India is sanctioned. That then becomes a different matter. But that is outside the purview of the actuarial sciences. Next. Abhishek, how credible is China's claim over Tibet and Taiwan? Is there any merit to China's claim? Look, China's claim is as meritorious as my claim to a particular diamond mine in Kenya, boss. Because, okay, look, this is the fact. When we were all like chimpanzees or something like a chimpanzee, my ancestor, before coming down from Ukraine, lived in the Great Rift Valley, just where several diamonds have been found in Kenya, and that belongs to me. Is that a legitimate claim? So China's claim that, oh, but the Qing dynasty held it. My Qing dynasty held it. So what? Russia held Ukraine at some point. Now that doesn't mean Ukraine part of Russia. Germany, a part of Western Poland, was Sakshat in name and in spirit and in people part of Germany. It was the most German part of Germany, called Pomerania, Eastern Prussia, etc. Excuse me, Eastern Prussia. So, well, not Ducal Prussia. Ducal Prussia would be part of Russia today, technically. But it was. So, what do they claim it? No, times change. So, they just keep concocting these claims, and that is why people are so scared of China, because they just use anything. And it doesn't even follow modern cartographic and mapping patterns. That is the most amazing thing. Next. Please describe my meeting with Rajnath Ji. Okay. I go in, there's a security check, then you go further in. I meet him quite often, so I don't know which meeting you're talking about, but at his house, this is the protocol, home office. You go in, there's a security check, you pass your bags through the metal detector, and then you go through the metal detector, and then there's the other side. Sometimes if I'm taking my car in, then we just get pushed in because the car's number has been given. This is for the predetermined meetings. For last minute meetings, security check karna padta hai. So the car goes in then what happens is there is an office on the right hand side of his type 8 bungalow, and you walk in and you meet him, and that's it. And then you come out. If you want to know what the content of those meetings are, then I'm sorry, they're privileged. You can't talk about meetings with ministers. It just doesn't happen. Next. Look. There is an open threat on Taiwan by China, yes, but on the other side, is there a possibility China annex Myanmar? No, zero. Reports say Chinese population increased to 5% in Burma, yes. But remember, Burma was very, very, very smart. They settled their claims with the Chinese, ceding very minimum land, and they were one of the first countries to settle their claims with the Chinese. So they did something very smart. It wasn't exactly the McMahon line. Remember, McMahon was the same guy who drew that line as well, apparently, I think. And it was very close to the McMahon line. There was hardly any territory lost or gained. They did it very smartly. Burma has always played the Chinese much, much more smartly than any other country on China's periphery. Now, after an internationally accepted treaty, China's actually stuck to that treaty. They don't claim any further border disputes and things like that. So if they go in, it'll be a real big surprise. And I've never seen any Chinese literature about going in. Next, how soon will Saudi Arabia have a peace deal with Israel? There are some that Saudi may soon have a peace deal. How accurate? Soon. Let's see when this thing gets over. This should have technically been done by this month. The middle of this month was the estimate I was getting from my Israeli friends. Right now, it's gone down to, boss, we don't know. We don't know because till the campaign is over, the Saudis won't sign it. But as soon as the campaign gets over, within a month or two, they'll sign off on a deal with us. In fact, there is a lot of chat that once Israel is ready to finish the campaign, the Saudis will get involved in it and say, see, we are bringing peace. King MBS is now going to negotiate a peace. And in return for peace, we will recognize Israel. So it's win-win for everybody. Next. Ishan Sharma, to mention conducting caste census in the manifesto of the opposition, good for them. Yes, very good for them. This is one of the things that they can use. Hindutva is what? Hindutva is eliminating caste differences and making you think of Hindu first. What are they doing? They're trying to break that. Think of yourselves as Hindu first. No. Think of yourselves as Yadav or Bania or whatever first. So they're playing a very insidious game and people might actually fall for it, boss. I don't know what its direct impact is going to be because you don't know how many people get swayed. See, there's a question of mental conditioning and brainwashing, right? Caste ज़्यादा important है या religion ज़्यादा important है? किसका असर ज़्यादा पड़ा है? I don't know. Dr. Nishikant Dubey? Oh, hi, sir. Why government is insisting on generic medicines? I don't know. Treatment in India is always cheapest in the world, which is why government should insist on generic medicines. No, we're very good at generic medicines. Our IP processes protect the process, but not the formula. That is our IP, our intellectual property laws protect the process of manufacture, but not the formula. So you can reverse engineer it and come up with a different process to get to that same generic end result. This is a good thing because it brings down the cost of medicine and allows us to export it and break the monopoly of all these horrible medicine companies across the world, now more so than ever after we saw what Pfizer and Co did. No, so why is this a bad thing, Dr. Nishikant? It's a good thing that they're insisting on generic medicines. No. Next. Akash Mihir 84. I never understood why Cutlet Preet Singh hates Garam Masala so much. I do not hate Garam Masala, Akash Mihir. My thing is, you can't use it in everything, Baba. गरम मसाला का एक टाइम और एक प्लेस होता है, समझ रहे हो ना? It is like, for example, I know you love your girlfriend and everything, but you can't kiss your girlfriend everywhere. Certainly not when you go for your kids' PTA meeting. You can't be kissing the mother of your children or your girlfriend or whatever in the school. So garam masala is a bit like that. You can't use it in everything. There is a time and place to use it. I made khichdi without masala. It tastes so much better. I wonder who came up with the idea of masala. I have always said khichdi ka swad comes from the moong dal and the chawal you put in it. The better the quality of the moong dal and the better the quality of the chawal, fundamentally, the better it is going to taste. The problem is, I don't think people even realize what absolutely great rice is. So khichdi, which is what we make in Bengal, is made with this incredible Gobindo Bhog rice. Now, Gobindo Bhog, if when you're cooking it itself, it should smell of hot buttered popcorn and condensed milk. It's an incredible flavor. People don't realize what that flavor is. When you cook moong dal, a really good shonar moong dal, which is a very special kind of moong dal. It's just, I mean, it's a generic shona. There's no varietal as such, but you get this special moong dal. It needs nothing. I would really urge people to try all these authentic native varieties that have gone extinct. I mean, these days you just go say, hey, moong dal bana de. What moong dal? Kis cheez ki moong dal? It is outstanding. And all you do after you pressure cook the moong dal and rice is to make some kind of a very simple tadka for it. Either tomato or methi ka tadka with a bit of panch phoron. That is what I do. That is my standard. Panch phoron is a particular spice mix. You heat mustard oil and ghee together. Then you put in the panch phoron, you put in the tomatoes, and you fry it till it's completely mashed. And then you put in methi leaves into it. I put fresh if I have. If not, I'll put in dry methi. Mix till it's completely paste, and then mix it in with the khichdi, and that's it. Next. Every caste has more than 50% Indus Valley ancestry. Astika. Does it? I don't know. I have not been following this. So why are some people Adivasis while some are not? Because Adivasis are the very first wave of migration. If you look at the Negroid populations in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they are very distinct genetically. They would have no Indus Valley strains on them. And they would have come in a migration some 30,000-40,000 years back, way before any steppe blood came into this country. And that is the first set of migrations out of, well, not the first set out of Africa, but certainly possibly the last relict set of migrations that came, which ultimately went on to Australia and became Aborigines out there as well. Next. Pardu RD, what are your thoughts on China's new map? Please, we've just discussed China's new map a few questions back. China's maps, there is more veracity in Mahoma Moitra's claims of innocence than there is in China's maps, please. And their tunnel constructions across the LAC, those are, I see them as opportunities. It is very foolish to build tunnels which are, which force a kind of static storage warfare on you in an age of great mobility. I don't know what they're thinking, because no matter how deep the tunnels, it only has one entrance. If you get the entrance, everything inside is useless. So as long as your reconnaissance is good and you've figured out all the multiple entrances to the tunnel, that's the end of everything stored in there. So I really don't know what they're trying to pull off. It's very bad military thinking in my book. Next. Gaurav Kataria, what's your take on the Canadian economy? They're in deep shit. They're in deep inflation. They're printing money like the Americans, like there is no tomorrow. If you look at the latest visa decision in their withdrawals to India, they've prioritized the visa section in withdrawals. Out of 27 visa staff, so total 41 diplomats to be withdrawn. Out of 41, the 22, over half were visa staff that they withdrew. And it's those visas that account for almost $22 billion in investment every year in terms of education and things like that. Why would you do that? They seem to be making mistake after mistake after mistake, too much social spending. They're falling into the same debt trap that the Americans are. And see, no amount of natural resources can get you off that. If you've gotten addicted to this kind of social spending, no amount of natural resources are really going to get you out. And their pension plans, look, their pension plans will work up to a point. Beyond a point, it won't. Because once you're too much in debt, it doesn't work. And let's see what the Canadians do now, because one of the proposals I knew that went up was to seize their pension plan investments in India. But that is the nuclear option. We're not going to do that till something particularly big happens. And remember, they opened the door on that, because they were the ones who seized Russian investments and things like that. So we can do it because they opened up the legality of it. And propping up the house market, look, these artificial props never work. They've prevented foreigners from buying houses, but house prices are already so obscenely high. Even banning the Chinese from buying houses You've artificially stunted a market. Now, you tell me, when have artificial price controls ever worked? And in spite of that, house prices are high. So now you have to build cheap housing for people who can't afford it. Where's that cheap housing coming from? It's going to come out of government funds. Where is the money? You're going to have to print more money, and you're going to devalue your economy all over again. Go ahead, do it. This is, you vote for an idiot like Justin Trudeau, this is what you get. Have you read the 1849 book, Tinnevelly Shanars by Robert Caldwell, Bishop Caldwell? No. This book makes the faulty assumption that worshipping Bhutas, Grama Devatas are non-Aryan. I think I can explain it generically, not in the Robert Caldwell sense of the way. But, look, Hinduism is an amalgamation of lots of beliefs, okay? It's a big house. Every idea can come in there and find this thing. If you believe that there is no God, there is a space for you within Hinduism. So all atheist philosophies draw their inspiration from the 𝗤𝙗𝙖𝙩𝙨 𝗢𝙯 in the Rig Veda. Okay, if you believe that, like the story of Kanappan goes into the forest. He's a tribal. He goes into the forest and he sees a statue, a rock, which he believes is Shiva, that's bleeding. And is lacking an eye. So he takes out his own eye because he's a great Shiva Bhakta. He takes out his own eye and puts it out there. And therefore, he's revered above all others in Shiva's eyes as being one of the greatest Bhaktas of Shiva. Now, how do you reconcile a religion that allows you to be atheist and allows you to worship a rock in the forest like Kanappan? There is no lesser bhakti or greater bhakti in Hinduism. Okay, everybody's worship is the same. Do you have faith in the belief that there is no God? Even that is faith. You have faith in something. You have faith in the idea that there is no God. Wonderful. You are celebrated as a Hindu. You have faith that this rock is a god. Wonderful. You're a Hindu. You believe that you will worship rats like they do in the temple in Rajasthan because it is Ganesha's Vahana. You are also a Hindu. I cannot say you are not a Hindu. Do you understand? Even the guy in Bengal, the Kapalik, going and sacrificing people to Kali, you cannot say he is not a Hindu. You cannot disqualify a Hindu. Each belief system is valid. So if you worship the Bhutas and Grama Devatas and the 𝗖𝗂𝘀 means ghost. I won't say ghost temple. It's yeah, kind of temples to spirits and ancestors and things. These are beliefs that have to be respected in Hinduism. You cannot disrespect them. And these are not non-Aryan. Far from it. If the Aryans had come from where we believe they came, which is the Pontic steppe, they would have been the quintessential Aryan beliefs, because they would have worshipped shamans in the forest. This is exactly the kind of worship that would have happened amongst the fringes of the invading Aryans. It is not only not non-Aryan, it is quintessentially Aryan. Quite the opposite. But then poor Robert Caldwell in those days didn't know about shamans and the religious practices of Central Asia or proto-religion at that point of time. Stupid fellow he was. So shame on him. I hope I answered that question. Next. Anshuman Singh, India signing a corridor with Russia and other with USA for Europe. Does this create... So the corridor with Russia was signed long back, and I don't think it's a viable corridor. And the corridor with Europe is actually viable. I didn't think it was, but then when I started reading what it involved, energy, gas, and high tech, and this data cable, it's a fantastic idea. There is no competition because it's two different markets, two different kinds of demands. The one overlap is energy, but it's a different kind of energy from Russia and a different kind of energy to Europe. To Europe, we're sending most possibly solar energy, gas from both Russia, oil and gas both from Russia, Iran, and from the Gulf. So no, it's not competition. It's very good. Guru Prasad, what's your opinion of the boat road? Huh? The boat road initiative? What's boat road? I don't know boat road. Mumbai to Europe, we just spoke about, no? I mean, same question. We just discussed. Karthik T, recently you tweeted about the kind of technology developing in Hyderabad. What's so special about it? What's so special about it, Karthik, is that it's realistic. It's not bullshit. It's not a futuristic fantasy. It is things that are very real, that are very practical, that are answering emerging needs. So, for example, the technology I saw in that anti-drone demonstration is something that we could have sold to Israel, and Israel could have used on its border precisely to foil this kind of attack that happened on the 7th and 8th of October. Precisely that. Okay, what I saw before that in Hyderabad, which was the simulator technology, did the exact same, not the exact same thing, but something very similar, which was constant training, new situations, new simulations, which would take billions of dollars to develop normally, done fact like that, cheap, no extra cost for you. If you buy the simulator modules right there, right then, it would have solved a lot of your training problems. So they are very practical. They are grounded in the here and the now. They are realistic, futuristic, not sci-fi futuristic. That is what is so amazing about it. And they are cost sensitive. Next, Deepak Bhatt. Why is mortality during encounters higher on our side almost always, especially when we're chest thumping about acquiring advanced weapons? You have to be very specific, Deepak. Mortality in what situations? Please ask this question again, because you have to tell me which specific encounters you're talking about. Next. And compared to who? Pratik Mangwani, what can Hindus learn from the Jewish Israel state and identity in terms of both unification of the people and cultural preservation? Really nothing. Each experience is completely different. We are not in that state. We are not a diaspora. We have not been scattered from our, there is a diaspora, but we've not been scattered. Our homeland is just fine. So there is no comparison out here, Pratik. I know a lot of people want to, everybody wants to start identifying themselves as Jewish, and our plight is the same as the Jewish, but no two plights are the same. The Tibetan plight is different. The Jewish plight is different, and we're not in a plight really. So yeah, nothing. Next. Malaban Bhattacharya, are we going to see colonies on Mars and humans migrating newly discovered Earth like inhabitable planets? यार पहले वो habitable planets तो देख लें. Then you have to find the speed of whatever. We can't travel at the speed of light for the next few thousand years, I think. But at least a speed at which point and large payloads into space to big enough for life-sustaining, multiple generation life-sustaining space journey to go into migrating planets. I don't think we'll achieve it very soon. And even Mars will take a long, long time to colonize. I am not buying a next 25-year timeline either. I'm really not. Sorry, that's just me. What's your take on Vistara's business class in 787? It's the Singapore Airlines regional business class and the Turkish Airways business class, the same seat, no innovation. And it's a comfortable seat, but look, Vistara's service is crap. Let's be clear about it. Vistara's menu is also crap. Let's be clear about that as well. So there's no point in really taking Vistara. I'm never taking that airline ever again if I can avoid it. Next. Guts the Black Swordsman. You always said Narasimha Rao is the best PM of India up until now. But his time also put the Place of Worship Act and Waqf Act. If he was more free of the Gandhis, the laws not come. No. He put it in response to what happened and he made them acts, which means even removing them is very easy, boss. Remember that. You can repeat an act. You can come in with a new act. What's preventing this government from doing it? He didn't enact it into law, he made it an act. Please remember this. He didn't do constitutional amendments and things like that. He had, at least on this, if you look at the numbers of the BJP and those opposing the BJP at that particular Lok Sabha, he could have easily got constitutional amendments through. He did not. Remember, he did things for a reason. And just bringing in the act. Acts are not sacrosanct. Acts can be repealed, they can be replaced, you can do whatever you like with them.